Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey, everybody. Austin Clark here, host of the Multiply You podcast. Thanks for being on. We've got a really exciting guest on today, Jeremy Weiss, great friend of mine. We're flipping the script. He's going to interview me. Jeremy has interviewed rather thousands of CEOs, and check out all of the things that he's doing. It's really wonderful on his podcast, and happy to have him on today. Jeremy, thanks so much, and welcome to the show.
Austin, I am excited. Thank you. And today's topic is going to be, how do you attract your best customers, right? It's what, most every business wants to know how to do over and over again. So we're going to talk about that. Before we get into it, this episode is brought to you by Moxie Pest Control. And I know, Austin, for you, the number one focus for you and your team is buying other pest control businesses. So if you are someone who has a pest control business and maybe 3 or more trucks on the road, a really respectable brand, they're really customer centric, so you would have to be too, and contact them. And I remember also when you were telling me about Randy, he was in business for 30 years. He wasn't even interested in selling, and he never thought he could sell the company for what you paid for it, but you did. And now he's leading an amazing life, probably golfing more, relaxing more. So if you have questions or someone, you can email aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com or text him directly at 480-254-9730. And it goes to him. So he'd love to hear from you. Now, let's talk about attracting your best customers. And I kind of want to start with a story that is the opposite of that, Austin, where you attracted a nightmare customer. All right. We'll call this person Dr. Smith. Okay. We'll keep them anonymous. What were some of the things that you now see as red flags? Lay out that nightmare customer, because somehow you attracted that person.
Somehow we did. And it probably started without having a really good defined plan of who we were going after, what market, those sorts of things. So thing number one is have a plan. But I smile about it because it's far enough into the past that I've forgotten all of the bad things that have happened, but not quite all of them. I think in this part, and anyone that's in business, and anyone that has more than 3 customers, not all customers or clients are created equal, and some of them have different needs, different preferences, they're just different, and different's fine and different's good. In this particular case, Dr. Smith, as we're calling him, there were warning signs. And I remember on this particular one, because I was the one that took the call. This was years ago, and I was helping out, and it was kind of all hands on deck, but I took the call. And some of those, I guess, early red flags or warning signs were against my better judgment at the time. But, we require everybody that's a client to be on Easy Pay or pay rather with an electronic form of payment. It's 2021 today, and so we should be doing that. Back then, it was probably 2012 or 2013, and there's just much better ways to exchange money, I guess, rather than cash or checks or whatever else, and not to mention safer. So Dr. Smith, he refused, right? Didn't want to pay. And so I said, okay, fine. We require a 12 to 24 month initial agreement for many, many different reasons. But one of the reasons is so that we can provide an excellent warranty for all of our clients. And so one of our brand promises is that if there's any issues in between treatments, any of our clients can call us and we'll come back out and take care of business or handle things for no charge. Without an agreement, we wouldn't be able to do that. And so it would be trip charge after trip charge. We don't want to nickel and dime. He wasn't interested in doing an agreement. And then he was extremely particular with how he wanted things done or what he wanted things done. And I'm not saying preferences. I'm saying he perhaps was more of a pest expert than we were at being pest experts. In this particular instance, it was rodents. And so I think that those, for me, were in this instance some of the warning signs. I think now that our company is a little more mature and we've learned from some of these lessons, I mean, I would say you really need to have a plan. You really need to know what geographical market you're marketing in, and you need to have a couple of different avatars as far as what your ideal client or customer looks like, and drill into that and stay committed to that. Anything else is just something that's shiny, that's disguised as an opportunity, that's really just a distraction. So really zero in and focus in on those things. Double down on your marketing and go get those ideal clients. And if you miss, some perhaps opportunities along the way, that's all right. They may not have really been opportunities in the first place.
I think that's a really important point because, and we'll go through some of the characteristics of a perfect avatar, some of the questions you ask, and then some of the red flags that you look for. Because once you see them once, it kind of what makes me think about, I don't know why, Austin, but if you look at ex-girlfriends, like you move on, you're like, I definitely, my next mate or whoever, this was terrible. I don't want that. And you see it very clearly when once you recognize, and the same thing with customers, you see these red flags probably so clearly now, like, boom, okay, this is not going to be a customer, but you add to that list and you also craft your perfect avatar and you recognize those things as well. So I want to hear on the flip side of things before we break down the perfect avatar and the questions to ask and the red flags. On the flip side, now that you've discovered, here's what we're looking for, here's the red flags we're looking for, and the perfect characteristics we're looking for, what happened on the other side? Who is on a high point moment? Who is a customer that we can replicate this person 100 times, and maybe it's someone who left a review, and I know you have certain core values. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. And through lots of different exercises and trial and error, our bread and butter and what we do is we are really, really good at providing residential general pest control, and really any other pest related service at a residential property. That can include termite services, mosquito services, turf and ornamental or weed services. But we also do multifamily. So we do apartment complexes, right? We do some of the larger mines in Arizona, which is more of an industrial type thing. But our ideal client, they live in a single family home. They have and they're, I don't want to say too busy because there's a couple of different avatars, but they are more than happy to exchange their hard-earned money, which is hard to come by, to do those services. And so they have either better things to do with their time, and so they hire us, or they hire a pool company, or they hire a window washing company, or a carpet, because they've got they've just got better things to do. And so they have the disposable income to be able to invest in their property in that way. They getting into some of the avatars, I mean, it could be someone that that travels a lot and is gone and is away, and then when they're there on Saturdays or the weekend or whatever, the last thing they want to do is do their pest work or mow their lawn or whatever else. We have some clients that are much more mature, and they're in some of the golden years of their lives with kids gone. They're doing rocking the grandkid thing. And there's no way in heck that they're going to spend their time. They've been spending the whole 50, 60, 70 years mowing the lawn, spraying for bugs. And now they're golfing or whatever it is they want to do. And so, I couldn't say specifically in our instance that this is exactly what they look like, but we've put a lot of thought into, and as we've analyzed our clients that stay around the longest, that are profitable, they look and feel a couple of different ways, and a few of those I've just described here.
It's funny because my in-laws fall into that avatar, and they're actually clients of yours,
Yeah,
customers.
yeah. There you go. And so, right? I mean, you were kind enough to have me over a few months ago while you were here in town in Phoenix, and that is exactly one of our avatars, right? They got other things to do. They got grandkids to entertain,
Exactly. And golf and all the things you mentioned.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about before we hit record was, some of the glowing reviews, people have mentioned some of your values. Can you think back to some of those people expressing it? Because when you think of ideal clients, they also probably represent your values as well.
Yeah, I've never quite thought about it that way, and I guess I would say that you're probably right, and I think that's like icing on top. You know what I mean, or icing on the cake. One of the things that we really, I guess I would say this: I think that our ideal client very much so appreciates high quality and premium. Okay. And so we at Moxie invest a tremendous amount of time in training our employees. I'm frankly just unaware of another organization that trains as much as we do. And so, a lot of the times when I talk to, and not in the pest space, but just in any space, period, and we learn more about what other industries or companies training looks like for their employees, it is maybe a week here, 2 weeks there at the beginning, and then there you go. So we do that too, but on top of that, we provide daily training for every single one of our employees for a half hour of instruction every single day. On top of that, we do monthly scorecard reviews. On top of that, we do weekly feedback evaluations with their supervisor, and many, many, many more things. The point that I'm trying to make is that it's really neat that during that training, when we train on a particular value, perhaps it's collaborative or nice or genuine or things that are important to us. If you hop online and Google Moxie Pest Control Arizona or Moxie Pest Control Phoenix, I haven't looked in a little while, but I think that we've got 3,000 or so reviews. 4.9 stars, so like really, really good. And it's some of our clients that express appreciation or feel compelled to write a review. They mention those things. So and so was so prompt, right? We had this time window. They were so prompt. Or I talked to so and so in the office, and they were so genuine. And they will literally use the same words or synonyms of the words of values that we espouse and are important to us. And so I think that just bringing this kind of full circle to your point, yeah, perhaps our ideal client maybe even thinks a little bit of the way that we do as an organization and values some of the same things that we do.
Yeah, I mean, and when we think about attracting customers, like you mentioned, there's characteristics, there's an avatar, but there's also the company embodies certain values that attract those people. And so I think it's important to mention that, the training and the core values allows you to also attract those customers. It's not just having an avatar. Like anyone could have, here's our avatar, but serving that avatar in, like you said, the training, the core values is key. But if someone's like, Austin, I'm not sure. How do I figure out my perfect avatar? I haven't spent the time to ask these questions. I'd love for you to walk through some of the questions that people can ask themselves. In your case, in the pest control, and people haven't checked out your book, with Michael Gerber, right? The E-Myth pest control style, right? It's the E-Myth pest control contractor. But some of the questions to walk through in your industry, one of them would be, where do your clients live, right? That would be part of the perfect avatar? What are some of the other questions people can ask themselves?
If I were starting out again, anyone that might be listening, they are probably in business, and so that means that they've probably got some clients, hopefully several hundred or several thousand. And what's great about that is you already have a sample size, and so you as a business, who is it that you like to work with the most? You know what I mean? And it's not just about money either, right? Who really values what you do? Who really appreciates what you do? Do you like chasing down invoices for $100 that, you know what I mean? And so what are some of those things that are important to you? And so start inside of your own company and your customer base and think about those customers that you love working with and why. And then identify another one and another one and another one and another one. It's kind of like what, right, Facebook does in kind of some of their marketing with like lookalike audiences, right? And so you can just start to duplicate your ideal client. Where do they shop? What do they eat? What restaurants do they go to? What kind of sports are they into? Are they into sports? You know what I mean? What part of the country do they live in? Do they know a second language? You know what I mean? All those kinds of things. And so I would start with your current customer base. And then even before that, I think that it's a business plan. And so, there are a lot of, I'll speak about pest because it's what I do, but there's a lot of different ways and angles that you can take that. And what I mean is you can do residential, you can do industrial, you can do multifamily, you can provide general pest services, you can provide termite service, you can do all of that. And if you're not careful starting out, that can be really problematic because you're just chasing so many things. And so it'd probably be wise to get really, really good at one thing and do that for a while. And then, you know what I mean? And your customers will tell us the reason that we opened up years ago our termite department is because so many of our customers asked us to do that. We didn't do it the first time a customer asked us to do that, or the second or the 10th or the 100th. I mean, they were requesting it for years and hundreds of times, if not several hundreds of times. And so we did that. And so business plan, start with your own customer base. And that goes both ways, right? Who are my ideal clients? Who aren't my ideal clients? Who do we say yes to? And then who are we not saying yes to?
Yeah, no, thank you. So it goes to, you look at internally, who do you like serving the most, which also goes into who values you the most, meaning you're doing an amazing job for them, and then the common characteristics of that group, which may mean where do they live, where do they shop, where do they, on social media, any characteristics of that group that you could identify, like you mentioned with one of the avatars, it may be someone who has grandkids who like golfing, there's certain characteristics of that particular ideal avatar for you. So, and they may have different pain points as well. So I appreciate walking through that. On the flip side, you just said also the clients you don't want working with. So this is just as valuable. So what are, now that you see, and this is, I think, valuable for any business to identify the red flags, why you won't work with someone, not to be mean about it, just because when you say yes to one person, you may be saying no to another, and there's an opportunity cost there. So what are some of the red flags that you look at now of, okay, you want to provide the best quality service possible, and for this type of person, maybe you can't for whatever reason?
Sure. And I think that might boil down to the 80-20 rule as well. And so you'll find yourself spending 80% of and that works, in reverse as well, but you'll find yourself spending 80% of your time working with hard clients or problem clients. And that's not good. You need to be spending that time growing your company or leveling up and scaling up your employees or whatever, right? Anything but that. And so, I would say the red flags are probably the same as the instance. Initially, with our, example of Dr. Smith. And so, know what your value is, know what your business plan is, know what you're willing to do and can do, what you're not willing to do and won't do. And it doesn't mean that you can't do it. You can do anything that you want, right? You just can't do everything that you want, and so your time is extremely limited. And I mean, as you're walking through some of those exercises in your mind or with your team or your consultant or however that works, you will start to clearly see who your ideal client is and who you should maybe stay a little bit away from. For me, in my limited experience, we want to work with people that appreciate what we're doing. We like to work with people that pay bills quickly, so that we can then take that earned money and reinvest it back into the company, right? So that we can grow it and expand our reach and continue to execute our purpose of improving people's lives. We like to work with people that appreciate and even lean towards technology. We are happy to answer the phone, but we're even more happy to exchange via email, text message, different messaging apps in that way. We want to communicate with our customers in the way that they want to communicate. But the way the world is going, the way the industry is going, it's certainly going more. It's just becoming more advanced. It's becoming more technologically advanced, and it should be, because there's lots of opportunity. There's lots of opportunity there.
I think, Austin, what I gather from what you're saying with the red flags or people you don't want to work with is almost like the reverse of your values. Like if your value is genuine and nice, if someone's overly rude, it's just not someone you want to work with. And
and you said something real quick, Jeremy, that sparks something, because we don't fire clients very, very often. We prefer not to do that. But you really nailed that. We're in customer service, and we strive to do the very best that we can every single day. But the few or rare instances that we have either let a client go, is because it's really against our values. You know what I mean? And so everyone has those days or wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. But if we've got someone that is like totally berating and making something personal with one of our people, we really just don't stand for that very much. You know what I mean? And there's lots of customers out there for everybody in any industry that you're in, and there's lots of companies that can serve you. And so it's also, we also take a step back and say, hey, perhaps John or whoever, we may not be the very best company out there to meet your specific needs. And maybe we can provide referrals to some that may be, better suited for you. And so we, at the end of the day, we want what's best for not just our clients and prospective clients, but really all of the people all Arizonans, everyone that we serve here in Arizona, even if that's not using us. You know what I mean? So anyway, couple tidbits there.
From what you said, thank you. From what you said, I feel like it falls into two camps. One is it's kind of the reverse of the core values, which is, not nice, making totally unreasonable requests, unrealistic expectations. And on the other side, I feel it's not following your key processes and procedures. You have things in place for a specific reason so you can best serve them. And when people feel like they know best, it basically slows everyone down and allows you not to execute on that. Like the person who says, no, I don't want to sign up for the online payment. Well, that just saves your team can now spend time servicing them as opposed to figuring out where the payment is. Right. So
that's right.
I feel like it falls into those two buckets as far as kind of red flags. And I think that applies to any business, really.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So first of all, Austin, this is always a pleasure. I always love talking about, how to attract your best customers, or anything else that we should make sure to note when we're specifically talking about attracting and serving your best customers.
One of the books that's sometimes we get into this, sometimes we don't, but one of the books that's really influenced my thinking around clients, customer service is the Enterprise book. I mean, anyone that's probably on has probably rented a vehicle, and hopefully they've done it from Enterprise, rental car. But they've got a book out. It's called Exceeding Customer Expectations, or maybe it's just Exceeding Expectations. It's a great and white book. And we've drawn a lot of our inspiration, here locally from some of the ways that they look to serve clients. And I appreciate their story too, because they are a premium service. If you're looking for cheap, low cost, don't call Enterprise, because you will pay a premium for them, but you'll receive a premium service. You can count on your vehicle having a full tank of gas, right? It's going to be vacuumed. And some of those things that maybe we complain about if we've rented at more of on a budget, Enterprise doesn't do that. Really incredible organization. But I would check that out. Great book. And it's really helped influence some of my thinking around key clients and identifying key clients.
I love that. Also, I've never heard of that book, actually, shockingly enough. So I definitely need to check it out. It looks like it's Exceeding Expectations, the Enterprise Rent-A-Car Story. That's the right book.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to check it out. Everyone else check it out. Check out more episodes of the podcast. Check out Moxie Pest Control, and email Austin if you have any questions. And Austin, thanks for having me.
You got it. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.